Good morning. Tomorrow is a really important day in the calendar of our country. VE Day, 75 years ago, tomorrow, Europe fell silent. The Nazis finally were defeated in Europe and the war was coming to an end. Millions of people rushed to fill the streets of the capital city and all over the country to celebrate. And 75 years later, it's our responsibility to take a moment, both today and tomorrow, collectively with the nation, to remember. And an act of remembrance is twofold: it's to commemorate and to celebrate. As an act of commemoration, we remember those who, as we say, paid the ultimate price, gave their lives so that we and future generations can live with the values that our country upholds. We have to celebrate those who were prepared to go and give everything for our country, to fight for freedom and liberty and democracy and the rights of all people to live as they wish in a fair and open society. Nazism, Nazi ideology had destroyed the lives of millions of people. The Jewish victims, the non-Jewish victims of the Holocaust, those young men and women who fought so bravely and whose lives came to an end throughout Europe and in other places too. So what are we doing? What are young teenagers, high school students doing as an act of remembrance? So let me share with you the words of the former head of staff of the British Armed Forces. He said, "We have to commemorate VE Day. We have to commemorate the lives of those who fought for peace, freedom, and liberty that we take for granted." And here, I think, lies a really important point. We do take so much for granted. Our lives, yes, they're complicated right now in this current crisis, but generally they're easy. We're not thinking about when do I have to go to the army, have to leave my family behind, leave my dreams behind. Life is generally easy. We live in a blessed time. This blip that might extend a few months longer, who knows how long it will extend, but it's a moment in our lives, but it's not our lives. We remember only a few months ago how free and easy life was. We could travel, we could engage with people in society. That is our life. But that wasn't always our life, and there was a real risk that that wouldn't be our lives had the Nazi ideology won and had the Germans been successful in conquering this great country of ours. We have to remember, he says, those who fell and celebrate the service of those who saw us throughout the war. The Prime Minister at the time said as follows: because the war wasn't entirely finished on Victory in Europe Day, VE Day, there were still areas in the world that were still fighting. So he said as follows: we may allow ourselves a brief period of rejoicing, but let's not forget for a moment the toil and efforts that lie ahead. And so, just like 75 years ago, the newscasters were trying to encourage the country. We can get through difficult times by referring back to what went on before World War II and the trials and tribulations and the struggles and the previous wars that they fought and how the nation got through. And today, I think it's cliche, but it makes sense to make reference to what we're going through now and say, yes, the country did go through difficult times and it will get through this as well. There's a spirit that we can tap into as we commemorate those times 75 years ago. But let's, as a school community also, and a religious community, reflect on those from our own community, the victims of the Shoah, the Holocaust in Europe. But not just those victims, co-religionists who joined the British Armed Forces and were posted all over the world. My own grandparents, many of your grandparents, neighbours, friends will know people who fought and who came back after the war. Some changed, some wounded, some back to family lives, proudly demonstrating their medals. We have the Association of Jewish Ex-Servicemen who serve our community proud, contributing as proud Jews to the war effort in different times in our history. And what were they fighting for then, and what must we take pride in today? There are values, British values, that we as Jewish community obviously subscribe to, but we need to appreciate those values. So they are democracy. We have the right to air our views, to challenge and to demonstrate and to call government to account when we don't like what they're doing in our name. The rule of law is central to everything that we stand for, both as Jews and as proud members, proud citizens of our country. Freedom, the freedom to live, the freedom to worship, the freedom to be as we want to be, and respect of those with different beliefs. These are our fundamental values that people fought for, brave people fought for so many years ago, and that we need to today celebrate the victory and celebrate the fact that we can live in a society that has these values and appreciate. So we'll stand in silence on Friday and think about those who paid that sacrifice. But also, as you're standing in silence, think about those values and why they are important, both nationally and individually. Why we must stand up when we see injustice, why we must fight when we see something that's wrong, whilst we must teach ourselves to respect and tolerate and appreciate differences in society, because it's the differences that make society more interesting. And fight for when you see something wrong. Don't turn a blind eye. Don't be a bystander that ignores. These are 21st century reasons why what happened 75 years ago still remains vital and significant in our lives. Let's commemorate with pride and with seriousness, and pray as well that we've seen the end to bloodshed and warfare and intolerance and hatred. And this time in our lives, we can rejoin society fully. Let's rejoin a society that wants to be connected in shared brotherhood and sisterhood, and share and celebrate the values that we all hold dear. Thank you very much.